Hello, my name is Rob, and you're listening to Environmental Soup. And last year I did an overview of the Liberal leadership race. This year I will look at the NDP leadership race at federal, I should specify. They have a convention from March 27th to 29th. The final day of voting is March 28th. And March 29th the vote will be announced. I looked at the debate, NDP leadership debate for people and the planet. So I will look at some of the campaign websites and some of the notes that I made. I'm just finding the website. I'll start with Heather McPherson. There's 5 candidates running. With Heather McPherson, she says that there's a false choice between good paying jobs and a clean environment, and that is one that liberals and conservatives push. Those various platforms here. So commitment to green future and end to profiting from the climate crisis. Those polluters pay and federal subsidies for the oil and gas. Strengthen the industrial carbon pricing. And reinvest in climate solutions and cost of living relief. Also, those requirement of financial institutions to act on climate change. That's one. Investing in climate adaptation. Those expand. Building on Infrastructure Canada. Expand and invest in a national adaptation strategy. Invest in disaster mitigation and adaptation infrastructure. Respect the First Nations, Métis, and Inuit jurisdiction on climate, and 30% of Canada's land, waters, and seas by 2030, protecting it. Protecting jobs is important. Supporting communities to bring renewable oil and gas facilities, when they close, they have workers that can support a transition, and they can support communities bring renewable energy manufacturing and battery production. Those guarantee support for workers and a transition, increasing funding for a youth climate call. Those are rethinking of the climate, rethinking of the major projects office and this is related to Bill C5, the federal legislation. And this is saying that the Major Projects Office was designated to fast-track approvals for large infrastructure projects without strong requirements for union jobs, community benefits, meaningful Indigenous consent, or environmental protections. And then there was talk about the contravention of an existing ban on tanker traffic in British Columbia. And there was an assurance that every major project approved in Canada meets climate goals, delivers on real-term benefits to communities, and respect the rights and jurisdictions of Indigenous peoples. It doesn't look like there's a commitment to repeal Bill C5, which has problems related to public participation. There's a commitment to an east-west, north-south electricity grid. There's a guarantee of free, prior, and informed consent in this platform, and that's related to UNDP, the United Nations Declaration on the Rights of Indigenous People. It's important to see the actual legislation and to hear what Indigenous nations' perspectives. And especially when British Columbia promised the same or similar legislation and then backtracked on that legislation. It's important to look at that. It's important to look at the specifics. Let's see here. Limiting power on data centers, a green municipal fund, funding for retrofit programs, and passing of an environmental bill of rights. I like an environmental bill of rights. That is something that I would like, and it would have legal protections for the right to a healthy environment, and there would be an Office of Environmental Justice, which would address the disproportionate impacts of pollution and biodiversity loss on Indigenous, Black, and racialized communities. Oh, I saw that. Let's see. Transit affordability, building a high-speed and high-frequency rail. They're all current environmental concerns with the proposed auto route. And so that might be something where there's an environmental concern. But there's also the getting calls off of the roads also has a benefit. So, and then protecting vulnerable people during emergencies, funding community organizations that do check-ins on seniors and people with disabilities, Indigenous-led energy solutions, funding community resilient hubs and maintain a safe temperature for days without power. So this is Heather McPherson's page. And I will look for the notes. Oh, it says Heather McPherson stopped coal mining in the Rocky Mountains. And she said that we don't need to invest more in fossil fuels, and does not support the MOU with Alberta and the federal government. So next I will go to Rob Ashton, and these are the policies of Rob Ashton. There's a national transit strategy. And there will be a publicly owned intercity bus and rail network. I don't see anything about Bill 5. Oh, I see protecting the climate. Oh, okay, so yeah, I don't see anything about repealing Bill 5. Maybe I missed it. And there was a commitment to an east-west clean electricity grid. Using Canadian steel, Canadian aluminum, and Canadian-made components, and cut emissions without sacrificing jobs or community, building a high-speed rail corridor, starting in the Quebec to Renzo region. Oh, I see what it is. Okay. There was one about transit specifically. Oh yeah, intercity network. And notes that I had on Rob Ashton, investment into climate infrastructure. And I will say that I watched about half of the debate on one of the debates. For people and the planet. That was a NDP leadership debate by Lead Now, hosted by Desmond Cole was the moderator. And next I have Avi Lewis, and I will say that Avi Lewis and Heather McPherson had the most detailed policies related to the environment. So Avi Lewis would talks about implementing the Green New Deal, which was inspired by the U.S. New Deal. He would create 1 million climate jobs in Canada and have a federal job transfer program, a youth climate call. He would install electric heat pumps, rooftop and balcony solar and backup batteries. He would have free, reliable transit in every major Canadian city. There would be improvement of zero-emission vehicle mandate and expanded charging stations. There would be heat pumps for everyone. There was an east-west energy grid, a national resilience response and recovery strategy, major cleanup of inactive oil and gas wells, and then what do I have in addition? He would build 1 million public homes. One concern with that is building it. The location matters where it's built. 1% of GDP would fund climate projects. No locals would be left behind. There would be a transition. And now I'll look at Tanille Johnston's. I didn't find a lot of platform material with Tanille Johnston. But there's no support of an AI center. Data centers, due to environmental impacts, and there would be mandatory water use limits and emission standards and transparent public disclosures, and there would be a moratorium on all new data centers. And I did talk about this data centers previously. I do believe that there should be standards for all data centers. And let's see, I don't really see a lot about environment here. And there was Tony McQuail's. There's not really that much of a platform. I know Tony McQuail wants to combine with the Green Party or make a coalition. There's 4 R's. There's the regeneration. We must rebuild what has been lost. And then he knows the importance of rebuilding lost ecosystem that can support vibrant and resilient communities. That's not really that much of a platform. Let's see. And one of the questions I was asked about what can be done under a Carney government for full fossil fuel phase out, which is needed according to scientists. Avi Lewis said that there's not a lot that we can do with the majority, except mass people in the street, and then pointed out abdication of the Carney government. Heather McPherson said that we have to be realistic and need more NDP. And Tony McQuail said it's devastating, the ecological ignorance. Yeah, and I will look at if there's anything on Bill C5, Heather, because that is an issue that I care about. Let's see. Oh, I don't want to listen. Okay. Let's see. See if there's any new news articles or. Okay. Okay, so there was a rabble NDP leadership questionnaire. And okay, so Avi Lewis would repeal the major projects provisions in Bill C5, and which allows the federal government to approve projects including fossil fuel infrastructure while bypassing consultations and environmental assessments. So Avi Lewis would repeal that, and then I think Heather included it in her platform. And let's see. Wasn't it? I'm not sure if it was a ban on a repeal. What did? But you can look back at what I said earlier, hopefully. Rob Ashton. I don't see anything. Oh, okay. I know. Okay. I know Tanille Johnston's platform. There was repeal of Bill C5. Let's see. There's a right to reliable, clean drinking water. Supporting climate action and emergency preparedness. And then there was free, prior, informed consent, and the right to say no. Oh, and then there it is. Repealing Coney's Bill C5 bill. Let's see. And then Bill C5. Let's see. Tony. MCQU AIL. Oh, and Tony McQuail would also cancel Bill C5. As well as redirect the increases in the military budget to the development and implementation of a national unarmed civilian defense program. Okay. So I could find several of the NDP candidates would repeal Bill C5 as their priority. Potentially not all of them. And there is a strong overlap of an east-west grid as well, electricity grid, as well as high-speed rail. I thank you for listening, and this has been a look at some of the environmental platforms of the NDP candidates. And if you are a member of the NDP, you have until March 28th to vote. I am not... I will say that I do have my political biases, which I will acknowledge. And I hope that you have a good rest of your day.